Good evening, folks. And this is Victoria from Women's Issues, Women's Voices. And I am in the studio this evening. This was pre-recorded and is being aired on Christmas Eve. And so happy holidays to all of you who are listening. Tonight's show is called, the theme of tonight's show is Embracing the Dark, a journey into balance. And this show actually sort of has been developing for weeks for me out of watching the energies of the moon, watching the energies of the dark moon, really starting to feel, here we're just beginning, here in the Midwest, we're just starting to feel that it's winter, like actually starting to feel some cold and might get some snow soon. And so really thinking a lot about what it's like to live in darkness during this pandemic, what the holidays are like. And so because I come from a pagan perspective, I have called on some of my pagan sisters to join me this evening. And so I am just really excited to have Phoennix, Samantha, and Kristina joining me to be talking about Winter Solstice, which would have already happened by the time this airs, talking about darkness and the importance of darkness, the value of it and how we survive it, and why it's also important with balance. And so I am going to actually so Phoenix, you're to my left on the Zoom camera. So I'm just gonna, Phoenix has been a dear friend for a long, long time. And I'm gonna ask her to introduce herself, a sentence or two. A lot of you might have known Phoenix from her many years at the Peace Nook.
Yes, I am back in the Columbia area after many, many years away. And I've been a practicing pagan for a little over 30 years. And I don't remember how I met Vic, to be honest, because it's been over 25 years ago. So I just honestly don't remember. My husband and I moved back here last summer and have a small plot of land out on the west side of the river, and affectionately known as the Gnomestead. And we are really excited about coming back to the community that I left many years ago, but also finding the new community out here on kind of on our side of the river, and have been really, really embraced by locals that we did not expect, and are just so grateful for that happening. And I tend to take the holidays, the Sabbats, the seasons, whatever you want to call, kind of on a daily basis, and on I garden. I love to garden. It's one of the things I love to do. So I am outside a whole lot, especially when it's warmer. And I tend to put those into my beliefs into the practice, whether it's, working in the garden, planting the garden, thinking about the garden all winter, or what have you, or, walking in the woods, or meeting with my community, which of course now we can't really do very much, but figuring out how to go about doing that in this so-called dark time. So yeah, that's me. I'm an eclectic pagan. I'm not Wiccan necessarily. I'm kind of all over the board. So there you go. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, the eclectic point of view. And I'm going to pass on down to Samantha, who is, I'm going counterclockwise here. So Samantha and I have known each other through various of the activities here in mid-Missouri, pagan activities. But Samantha's also always been my person that when I'm talking about a holiday, I love the way she brings in historic and factual along with the spiritual. So Samantha, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, so I'm Samantha, and I have been a practicing pagan since 2010. So it's been 10 years, I think. No, sorry, 2009. It's been 11 years. I can count. No, so I've been a practicing pagan since 2009. I am a second degree priestess in traditional Wicca, specifically the Conclave of the Craft, which is an offshoot of the Temple of the Craft of Wicca in Chicago. So that's my lineage there. And I run my own coven, currently called Four Pirates, and in Columbia. So my background is the traditional, and I also have a degree in theater and religious studies. So that is where my background is. That's kind of where I come at this as both a spiritual practice and a practice of knowledge. So thank
And I
you for having me on the show, Vic.
Yeah, I so appreciate that blend, because I tend to be a intuition, if it feels right, do it sort of pagan. And I appreciate those people who help me then anchor that into, historical. And so appreciate that. And Kristina is my newest friend that I'm bringing in. And she's actually calling in from halfway around the world, 7 hours away. So Kristina, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone, and thank you, Wick. I live in Sweden, in Scandinavia, and quite near our big city, Stockholm. That is the capital of Sweden. And I've been a pagan since I was born, I guess, in some way. I mean, I always felt more connected to nature and animals than humans, because humans, we destroy so much. It's always been so close to my heart. Then growing up more and more, I wanted to explore more and see what it is, and I get to know that there is a lot of traditions everywhere, with people who are close to nature and also close to nature in a spiritual way. So I have been, not to take someone else, I mean, there are lots of people who still have their traditions, like indigenous people and also Wicca and lots of things. But I have tried to look into the roots here, where I live and where I come from. And within my language and within all the old traditions or just things that are here, we have kept a lot of things and active, and that we still do. So I have been wanting to go to that path and know more and learn some about old myths. But it's very inspiring to see what other people do too, because we have a lot of things in common.
Thank you so much. Thank you, all of you. So this is exciting to me. We're going to start out talking about the topic. I suddenly feel like I'm on a game show. Topic is winter solstice. And so I'm almost speechless, like just thinking about this possibility. So what I would like to talk about first is winter solstice as a literal planetary event. And Samantha, I'm going to turn to you for that, to start talking on that. So just for those folks who might be listening that aren't even sure what winter solstice, what is that? The astronomical action of solstice happens completely divorced from any beliefs or spirituality. So could you talk a little bit about that, Samantha?
Sure. So astronomically, what's happening at the winter solstice is that the Earth's rotation and its orbit around the sun, the Earth's orbit is actually an ellipsis. So what's happening at the solstice is we are actually at the farthest point of the ellipses away from the sun. And so we are not getting nearly as much light. And because of Earth's tilt in the northern hemisphere, we are actually at our farthest point, but the southern hemisphere is at its closest point. So it is actually experiencing a summer solstice while we're experiencing the winter one. So they are having their longest time of year and we're having our shortest. As it rotates and it has that tilt, we're actually closer to the sun at the summer in June. So this is the opposite of the June solstice, based on Earth's axis tilt and orbit around the sun. So that's basically what solstice is on a scientific astronomical level.
Yeah. And when we say shortest, we're not, I mean, the day is still 24 hours long, but the amount of sunlight is shorter and shorter and shorter. And so right.
Yeah, on solstice night, when it's officially at that point, which is going to be on the 21st this year, and it changes, sometimes it's between the 21st and the 23rd usually. What happens is the amount of time that the sun is up is extremely short. So in Colombia, that time is, I think the sun is rising at like 7:30 and setting at 4:30. So it's only up for few hours and then it's night. And then I think in Stockholm, it's already like, I know that as you get farther north, you can have like a month of darkness. I know that the summer solstice is like a month of light and the winter solstice is a month of darkness, because as you get farther north, or south even, the way that light hits and the way that the sun hits because of the Earth's tilt is determines that amount of time that the sun is up.
So Kristina, you're at a
that is right.
higher latitude than we are. You're closer to the North Pole.
Yeah.
And so
there is a North Circle, Polcirkeln. If you want to see where this is divided, where it's totally dark, it's called the it's a polar circle. And some parts of Sweden north, like in Kiruna and also Finland and Russia and Norway, they have that. And there's where the indigenous people, the Sami people, live. A lot of them, and also some Swedes, but they are also Swedes. But
so for you, on like, because as we're getting closer to solstice when we record this, what's your day like? The sun's coming up at like 10 in the morning?
Yeah, something like that. I guess 9:30. I mean, at 8 it's still dark. It's really dark. It's still night at 8 o'clock, and then it comes up. I'm sleeping so long, so when I wake up in the morning, it's already dark. No, I mean already light. No, sorry, already light. It was mixed with the words. But today I was watching the sunset for the first time in a month because it's been cloudy, so I've not been seeing the sun for more than a month. And
so what time did the sun set for you?
It's set 14:30. That's
2:30. 2:30. Yeah.
2:30 p.m.
Okay.
I guess.
So yes, I just am inviting those people who are listening to this from the Midwestern latitude that the other three of us are at, just letting yourself imagine the sun rising at 9:30 and setting at 2:30. Right?
But then it takes like 1 hour or 1.5 until it gets totally dark.
Right.
So it takes a long time before it's dark again. But now it's dark.
Yeah. So December 21st, whether we realize it or not, that is the returning of the light. So those of you who are listening to this on December 24th, today we actually had a little bit more light than we did last week. You might not feel it yet. You might not know it, right? And I think that's one of the things that's confusing to people. And so let's start moving into winter solstice as a holiday, right? So Phoenix, you haven't said anything yet. Do you have anything to share about, like, so why do we celebrate winter solstice? Like, what's the importance from
Well,
your perspective?
in the pagan realm, or well, that's the realm we're talking about, I guess. It's about celebrating the return of light, because the days are getting longer. There's more sunlight, though it doesn't usually feel like it till about March. But we're celebrating the return of light, and a lot of people, traditionally, I think we look at that as, light is always associated with good, dark with bad. Traditionally, that's a very common connection, association, and so on. I think a lot of people welcome the light because winter can be hard. You're not able to go outside and do things that you can do in the summer, whether that's being social or just doing outdoor activities, unless you're like me and don't mind the cold and the snow.
Actually, I just heard a friend of mine did a talk on the Danish tradition of hygge, which is spelled Hyggge. And there was a quote in that there is no bad weather, there's only bad clothing.
Yeah.
And I
we have
thought
that in Swedish too. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and I just thought that was such a great statement, because I remember when I first moved to Columbia, and some of our friends, I think it was probably you and Taylin and whoever else, like wanted me to go hiking, and it was cold out, and I couldn't understand like how you all thought that was enjoyable. But I didn't have hiking boots, and I didn't have a winter, like I had a winter coat, but it was a winter coat like one would wear to the office. And by the next winter, I had long underwear, I had hiking boots, I had a winter coat, I had good gloves, right? And then suddenly I too loved going out in the winter and hiking. And so I really think that that's a piece of there's something about like, that not everybody loves it, but it's not because of the cold. It's because, we don't have the right clothes.
It's true. I was recently talking with a friend, with the virus going on, of course, everybody's trying to figure out creative ways to meet and get together and be social. And where I live, we have 10 acres. It's, you can easily maneuver around without people being close to you. And, so to me, I'm like, well, we'll just meet outside. Everybody can hang out outside. Well, I forget that not everybody, that's not for everybody, I guess. And I was recently talking to a neighbor about it, and we're very much on the same level. And she was like, well, you just put on more clothes and you go out and you hang out. But, that's not for everybody. And so I think this year, because of the virus, because of people being cautious, and because of people, being concerned and careful and conscious about, their interactions with other people, I think that people who look at winter as the dark time purely on a socializing level because they're not able to get out and do as many things, I think they're really struggling this year with the dark, because this is going to be a very dark winter, so to speak. And I think it's going to challenge a lot of people in a lot of ways. And so I could see where celebrating the light returning for a lot of people is going to be really important, because they're going to want that, literally the sunlight to be coming back, the warmth to be coming back, the ability to be outside and be more comfortable or what have you. So I think that, solstice this year, I think is a really important celebration on the light. But at the same time, as we were talking a little earlier before the show, that there's that balance of light and dark. And I think that most people are not comfortable sitting in the dark. It's uncomfortable, it's unknown, it's scary, it's intimidating. It can be very traumatizing for some people. at the same time, I think we need to learn, and I don't think that, especially in our society, we're not taught to do that. We don't learn how to do that. And I think that we need to learn how to sit in the dark and feel the comfort and feel it envelop us and fill us with the energy we need. If you think about a seed or a bulb, especially a bulb in planting, you know, a flower bulb, that bulb needs the dark and the winter and that time period to collect its energy, to shoot up out through the soil and grow when the sun comes back and when it's time to grow. And I think that we as humans need that as well. We need to hibernate. We need to sit in the dark, and we need to feel comfortable about it, and we need to welcome it, and we need to look at those things that scare us and look at those things that are intimidating to us and uncomfortable to us. And I don't know if I go as far as saying making friends with it, but learning how to sit with it comfortably.
Well, and we're gonna. I hope that folks who are listening will come back for the second half, because we're really going to dive more into the dark. But kind of as that segue, something that I have noticed this year in our hometown, so many more people have put lights on their house. So my partner and I have not had a traditional Christmas tree in the entire time that we've been together for 17 years. I myself have not put up a Christmas tree in over 12 years because I just found it to be like added work. And this is the first year that I have actually took the time. We went, my daughter and I cut down a tree, you know, at Star Pines, and we're decorating it. And I am finding such joy at sitting for just a minute or two in the dark before I plug it in. Right? So, Kristina, I just want to turn to you, because you, so for those of you who are listening on the radio, I'm going to invite you to check out the YouTube. This will be on my YouTube channel. And because Kristina has brought together some traditional things from her culture, like that people use to help them get through the dark time. Right? So there are a few of those that you want to share?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's, I had to stand and look, and
So I'm seeing the glittery wheel. That's the one that catches my eye. Yes. So
yeah. This is the sun wheel, the year of the wheel of the year. And it's they have actually seen this in rundvisningar.
yeah.
Sorry,
Okay.
I can't get the word.
It's okay. We know that you're translating.
But
so what I see is a golden circle.
In stone carvings from the Bronze Age here in Scandinavia, they found this wheel.
So right, so it's a
Bronze
circle
Age.
with a cross in it, right? So it's like the directional cross: north, east, south, west. Right? It's pointing to all four directions.
Yeah, and yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, I celebrate this. I mean, winter, summer,
spring and autumn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And living here in the north, it's really much about that. Now it's winter and it's dark, and in summer it's so much light, and then it's hard to sleep because there's so much light all the time. And now it's not sun, so you sleep a lot.
Yeah. And so it looks like you also have lights on there. Is that in the center? Is that a star?
Yeah. This is the mix of the Christian symbols, the stars. So, but I like the light and the stars. And here is this You can see
So
this.
that is it's a white banner with, is that
Yeah,
Santa
and-
Claus or is that an elf
Yeah.
on it?
Well, this is our Santa Claus. This is
Oh.
our.
So
and,
Sweden. So what you were explaining before we got on the recording was that in Sweden, really, the pagan traditions are more the normal, and the
Yeah.
Christianity
Yeah,
is
and-
the more unusual. Right? So
yeah,
what is that?
And even the name,
Right? So it's,
Julpost,
mm-hmm.
that is Jule, Christmas, post, and post is mail. So when you get mail, you put this in here. And that's the traditions we have, that you send mail to each other.
Right.
And
Because what you were
that is.
Yeah, because what you were saying is that you don't actually celebrate Christmas. You really are acknowledging winter solstice. That's in Sweden, that's really the holiday that is celebrated. Yeah.
And those are very important.
So those look like gnomes.
We say tomte.
Those look like gnomes.
But the gnomes and the Santa Claus is kind of the same. And the name for this is tomte. Tomtar. Tomte.
Okay.
And
So for those of you who are listening on the radio right now, you'll have to check out the YouTube, because we have warring gnomes, little red-hatted conical hats with little noses and big beards, right? One is here in Missouri and the other is in Sweden. And we have to wrap up with that, because we're going to turn, like, that's an awful light and like levity filled moment. And then the music that we're about to listen to is going to take us into some serious, and then we're going to talk about the dark and how we survive the dark and why the dark is important. So check back in, listen to the music, and join us.